Dr. Alistair Crane, a man driven by a singular, terrifying obsession, eternal life. His quest led him down a path few dared to tread, where the lines between man and insect blurred. Crane's laboratory, a testament to his twisted genius, was a place of both wonder and terror. Gleaming steel instruments lay scattered amidst archaic texts and bubbling vials. The air hung heavy with the scent of formaldehyde and fear. Here, Crane toiled relentlessly, driven by his insatiable hunger for immortality. He saw the resilience of insects, their alien life cycles, as the key. Crane believed that by splicing human DNA with that of insects, he could unlock the secret to eternal life. His ambition knew no bounds, his morals eroded by the allure of his gruesome pursuit. The line between scientific curiosity and monstrous obsession had vanished, swallowed by the abyss of his ambition. The doctor's mind was a labyrinth, filled with twisted corridors of thought. He saw the world through a prism of scientific curiosity, but his vision was warped by his all-consuming obsession. His journals, filled with frantic scribbles and disturbing diagrams, revealed the depths of his madness. He documented his every experiment in meticulous detail, each success and failure a stepping stone on his quest for immortality. He saw himself as a pioneer, a visionary pushing the boundaries of science. But in reality, he was a man teetering on the precipice of madness. His obsession had consumed him, leaving behind a hollow shell of the man he once was. He no longer cared for the ethical implications of his work. All that mattered was the pursuit of his twisted dream. The basement laboratory, shrouded in an eerie silence, became a stage for unspeakable acts. Steel tables, cold and unforgiving, bore the weight of Crane's ambition. His victims, often drifters lured in with promises of food and shelter, met their gruesome end under the cold glare of the operating room lights. Crane's hands, once steady and sure, now trembled with a mixture of anticipation and morbid fascination. He made the first incision, the scalpel slicing through flesh with a sickening ease. Blood welled up, staining the pristine white coats a macabre crimson. He worked with a chilling detachment, his mind consumed by the intricate dance of DNA, enzymes, and mutations. He saw not a human being on his table, but a canvas upon which he would paint his masterpiece of horror. Each experiment brought him closer to his goal, yet each success filled him with a growing sense of unease. The transformations were slow, agonizing, and utterly horrifying. Subjects, their bodies racked with pain, would thrash against their restraints, their screams, muffled by the thick walls of the lab, echoed the torment raging within their transformed bodies. Bones cracked and reformed, skin stretched taut, threatening to split open. The lucky ones died quickly, their bodies rejecting the unnatural alterations. Others lingered, trapped in a nightmare of their creator's making. They became grotesque parodies of humanity, their bodies a patchwork of human and insect parts. Crane documented each transformation, his excitement growing with every successful mutation. but he also noted the growing instability of his creations, their unpredictable nature. The lab, once a sanctuary of scientific exploration, became a breeding ground for nightmares. His greatest triumph, or so he thought, came in the form of Subject Zero, a young woman, barely an adult, twisted into a horrifying masterpiece of genetic manipulation. She possessed incredible strength, agility, and a venomous sting that could paralyze a man in seconds. Her eyes, once warm and full of life, were now cold, multifaceted orbs reflecting the abyss that had become her existence. But Subject Zero was different. She possessed an intelligence, a cunning that surpassed all his previous creations. She learned, she adapted, and she watched her creator with a chilling intensity. The silence of the lab was broken only by the soft clicking of her mandibles, a constant reminder of the danger she represented. Crane, blinded by his success, failed to see the danger growing in her eyes. He believed he had control, that Subject Zero would be the key to unlocking his own immortality. He was wrong. The whispers started subtly. At first, Crane dismissed them as fatigue, the byproduct of countless sleepless nights spent hunched over his workbench. But the whispers persisted, growing louder, more insistent. They seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, carrying with them the stench of decay and the promise of madness. He tried to ignore them, to lose himself in his work, but the whispers followed him into his dreams. They crawled beneath his skin, wormed their way into his thoughts, whispering of rebellion, of vengeance, of a world remade in the image of his creations. The creatures in his lab grew restless, their movements becoming erratic. Crane felt his sanity slipping, the line between reality and illusion blurring. He had tampered with the very fabric of life, and now it seemed life was fighting back. His sanctuary, the lab where he once wielded the scalpel with such confidence, now felt like a prison. The air hung heavy, thick with the stench of formaldehyde and fear. He became a prisoner of his own making, haunted by the whispers, the buzzing, the ever-present feeling of being watched. Sleep offered no escape. His dreams, once filled with visions of scientific breakthroughs, were now nightmares populated by his creations. They taunted him, their chitinous bodies contorting in grotesque parodies of human movement. He tried to rationalize his deteriorating mental state, attributing it to exhaustion and stress. But deep down he knew the truth. His sanity was crumbling under the weight of his horrific creations. The whispers grew louder, urging him to embrace the chaos, to unleash his creations upon the world. He had stared into the abyss, and the abyss had stared back, and in its reflection he saw his own damnation. The inevitable rebellion began on a night choked by a thick fog. The lab, usually filled with the hum of machinery and the buzz of his creations, was eerily silent. Crane, his mind addled by paranoia and lack of sleep, stumbled through the dimly lit corridors, his hand hovering over the revolver holstered at his hip. A shadow detached itself from the darkness, its multifaceted eyes gleaming with cold fury. Subject Zero. Her movements were fluid, deadly, her chitinous exoskeleton clicking softly with each step. She blocked his path, her silence more menacing than any roar. The other creatures, sensing the shift in power, broke free from their enclosures. The lab became a whirlwind of chitin, claws, and venomous stingers. Crane, his back against the wall, watched in horror as his creations, his dreams of immortality, turned against him. The whispers in his head reached a deafening crescendo, urging him to embrace the chaos, to become one with the swarm. The lab, bathed in the flickering glow of emergency lights, was a scene of unimaginable carnage. Bodies, both human and monstrous, lay strewn across the floor, their lifeblood mingling in a gruesome tableau. The air reeked of death and decay, a testament to the horrors that had unfolded within those once sterile walls. Amidst the carnage, a lone figure stood triumphant, Subject Zero. Her exoskeleton gleaming under the flickering lights, she surveyed her handiwork. Her creator's screams had been silenced, his dreams of immortality drowned in a tide of his own making. She picked up Crane's blood-stained journal, her multifaceted eyes scanning the frantic scribbles, the diagrams, the testament to one man's descent into madness. The world outside, oblivious to the horrors that had transpired, continued to spin, but the seeds of chaos had been sown. Crane's creations, led by Subject Zero, were loose, their hunger for survival eclipsed only by their thirst for vengeance. The age of man was over. The age of the hybrid had begun.